When people are doing these things, saying these things, they're doing it because they see an opportunity and they believe you're an easy target to do something because you're not going to stand up for yourself.
Welcome to Women Thrive podcast. This is where you'll get to hear incredible stories of female entrepreneurs, business owners, women from all walks of life. Myself, Raimonda, and my co-host Abigail will be interviewing incredible women, hearing inspiring stories of women from all around the world. I have no doubt that you will find something that will be life-changing for you. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and join us for our future episodes.
So welcome everyone. We are starting season 4 of the Women Thrive podcast with a bang. We're going a bit spicy on this season, and we are coming to you today to talk about a really important subject, I think, about the way that maybe you are perceived, the way that you can react to certain situations, and the things that you maybe are told because you are a woman. So we're going to deep dive into this. I am very delighted to welcome today, she's my incredible co-host. We're co-hosting this together, Raimonda, who is the founder of Women Thrive Media. Welcome, Raimonda.
Hey, Abby. I am thrilled to be here with you and kick off our season 4 with some of these spicy topics. And the reason we're bringing this topic to you all, because I had just a moment where I was like, we as women have been told some really horrible things. And I think some of those things have held us back for a long time. So I put up a post pretty recently on my Facebook to say, what are some of the worst things you have been told because you're a woman? So that's the question we're posing to you, and some discussion points that I want to bring it to this conversation of some of the things that you guys have shared with me on my personal Facebook of some of the things that you've been told. So let's get going, Abby.
You know, the first thing that I'm laughing because, and I'll explain why I'm laughing in a minute, because it shocks me. I think part of the reason that I'm laughing is that I'm shocked. When I'm looking at these comments on your post, first of all, I really honor the impact that we honor the impact that this had on your life, and the fact that it wouldn't have been a very nice to hear it, and it's really shocking. But I just cannot believe some of the comments on here, and the fact that these comments have been made to really incredible, powerful, capable, intelligent, beautiful women. I'm saying it's shocking, but I'm not shocked. It's shocking to look at these comments, but also on the flip chart, I'm not shocked. Like, welcome back to our world. Welcome. I was born in 1974. So I was like, a child in the 70s, growing up in the 80s, and then teenager 20s in the 90s. And it just becomes the norm that these things happen to us and that these things are said to us. But it's still, quite shocking. I have been trying to think about some of the worst things that I've been told because I'm a woman, and I just have to go back to my childhood. I was brought up to be very disempowered as a woman. I was brought up to believe that men are the leaders and you have to do what men tell you to do. So men are in charge, women are submissive, women are there doing the housework. My father chose all of my GCSE school subjects for me, my qualifications, needlework, cookery, childcare. And he said, well, I think you need to do typewriting because you never know, you might have to get a little bit of a part-time job. So I was groomed and I was brought up to be a submissive wife, to bear children to my husband, who had complete autonomy and authority over my mind and my body. And I had to do what he said. So leaving that, making that decision at 16 years old, people say to me, oh my goodness, it must have been so scary, such a big decision. No, I was out of there. I was like, I'm not having this life. This isn't the life that I've signed up to. And I made a conscious decision at that point in my life that nobody, not a man, not a woman, not any human being, was going to affect me and was going to control me and tell me what to do. But it still hurts. And I think that this is the thing. You can go out there and you can be in this kind of energy of, you know what, I'm not going to be affected by other people's opinions. That's just someone who's really unhappy and really small and really sad, who is putting you down to make them feel themselves better. That's it. When I look at all these comments, comments are coming from people that are unhappy, and that the only way that they can make themselves feel big is to put you down. Well, there you go. That's the kind of people that they are. Small people, narrow-minded, small people. I don't even have time for them. But when you're walking down a beach in overseas somewhere and someone sticks their hand up your skirt, or someone's making derogatory remarks at you, catcalling you, or any of that, it still hurts. It's not nice. It's really shocking. It can make us feel really unsafe as women. But I think the conversation that we need to be having along with this is, how do we react to it as women? And I'm so glad that this is starting to be called out now. We are calling it out. Do you remember what happened at the Olympics? The Olympics were taking place in Paris. Fabulous opening ceremony, can I say? I loved every part of it. There was a UK-based commentator, and there was a team. I think it was the synchronized swimming team, or there was a swimming team anyway, women. I think they were Australian, and they'd won the gold, and they were a little bit late coming onto the podium. And he said, obviously they're late because they're doing the makeup, typical women. The female commentator that was with him was like, reacted like I think a lot of us do when we have comments like that. It's complete shock. It's like, what? Have I just really heard what I'm saying? Anyway, he was sacked. You know what was so more disgusting? The fact that he said that, were the comments from people, including other women, that were going, this is ridiculous. There's no way that poor man has lost his job. Like, what did he say wrong? Nothing. It was just a joke. It was just a bit of banter, da, 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 da. And I just think that these things are covered up all the time because people are going, it's banter. You don't have a sense of humor, and it really needs to be highlighted. So anyway, that's my rant over. Yeah, this is a really
coming out.
Yeah.
Abby's not having any of it. So
yeah, exactly. And you know what I'm really good at? I'm not good at calling out for myself, but I am good at calling it out for someone. If I notice it, I've put myself in dangerous situations so many times, especially when I worked overseas, because I'm not standing for it. You want to be acting like that? Come on, I'm standing for my sisters. Like, it's solidarity. We need to be standing for one another and calling it out. And men need to be calling it out as well.
Exactly. And you said it quite right. It creates not a safe space for us to thrive. We look over our backs. And sometimes when you are in that position, it's hard to see it for yourself or react to it because it's done towards you. And I think that's where others need to step in and stand for others. And it's horrible to experience some of these things. I've experienced many things in my life as well. Not quite hand up a skirt, but men trying to film me and just trying to do various things on a slide, like being on a train and their hands not in their pockets, but really in their pants. They're sitting right in front of you and doing it. I used to get that a lot, especially as a teen, because I was an easy target. So when people are doing these things, saying these things, they're doing it because they see an opportunity and they believe you're an easy target to do something because you're not going to stand up for yourself. So when I was a teen, that was a regular experience on a train, on my way home, on the street, because I couldn't stand up for myself. Because I wasn't that feisty young girl when I was 15, 16 years old. No, I didn't know how to stand up for myself. It doesn't matter the age, but a lot of times, not every single woman is the same way, who's able to stand for herself. And you're quite right that we need to stand for each other and call these things out and have these conversations, because people are not having these conversations, yet we're accepting it, right? It's happening. And sometimes it's happening on such a sly manner that it might go undetected. No, we're detecting it. We're detectives at this now.
Yeah. And this is the thing, right? Because it's the same thing with any other kind of horrible thing like racism, right? You are putting other people down to make yourself feel better. And what happens is when you start calling it out, it starts going underground. So it's like it's sneakier. It's coming out as gaslighting and little sneaky comments. So, and it's really interesting how people can really manipulate you. Where I've spoken to so many women, and it's happened to me, where you start to doubt yourself, and you're like, "Did that really happen?" Because it can be so subtle. It's not so blatant now. Some of these comments of what women were being. Definitely go and look at this post and comment on it. It's on Raimonda Jan Facebook page, and it was posted 23rd of August. Go and read these comments and get involved in this conversation and comment on it, because some of these comments, it was so blatant in the 60s and 70s and 80s, and it was on our TV and it was part of the culture. It was very normal. And now it's still there, but it's just a little bit more discreet, but we still notice it as women, and it's still impactful. And the only way that we can do this is to call it out and really put our boundaries in and go, no, this is not happening to me. This is not going to happen. You are not allowed to talk to me like that. Nobody, not a man, not a woman, any human being. You can't talk to me about that. And this is why it's so important to work on our leadership. And this is why I love the Women Thrive community, because we are always talking about this subject: standing in your leadership, setting your boundaries, setting expectations, supporting one another, being there for one another. When we become stronger, we're not victimized anymore. It won't happen as much. Believe you me, it's not going to happen to you. It's really important for us to really stand in our leadership with this.
And I see this happen a lot. And that's the difference when you have a community or tribe where you can go and you can have these conversations and bring it forward, and you feel less alone, because the thing that the perpetrator or the person who's trying to squish you wants is to have you on your own. Right? That's what they do. They get you in your weak moments. They want to get you on your own. They want to get you where nobody else is able to see what they're doing to you. So they can do that, and they know that you can't stand up for yourself. And what happens is when you do stand up for yourself, right, there's a shock factor, especially if you've never stood up for yourself before. You've never said anything, you allowed it to happen, and all of a sudden you change it. The thing is, it's a shock effect, right? And they might retreat straight away because they didn't expect that. I was talking to a friend of mine, and she was saying, we went as a family on a beach. It was quite a secluded beach. And there was this guy in the bushes, naked, playing with himself, watching us. I said, if I was you, I would have taken a bucket of water and went and just splashed it all over him and told him to F up, right? Because he is doing it so blatantly because he doesn't think that you would do something like that. But if you did something, he wouldn't retaliate. These kind of people who do that, they're usually weak. They probably can't get sex. They feel very insecure anyway. And if you were to stand up for something, they would run miles. So what are we afraid? Those inappropriate things sometimes are done in a way that is just to manipulate us.
Yeah, I agree. I remember the thing that had the most significant impact on me about this. I heard someone saying, if you see someone being like abused or being behaved aggressively to, like if you're on a bus or a train or something, and I think at the time, there still is, unfortunately, all around the world, but at the time there was a lot of hate and anger like being directed particularly towards immigrant women. So, they were standing out. They might have had a yashmak on or whatever. Like you could tell that they were, not born in the UK or whatever. There was a lot of stuff going on. It was like, how can I help her? And someone said the best thing that you can do is if you see that, go and sit with her and start to have a conversation with her. Like, don't shout at them. Just sit with her and have a conversation with her. And that's just reminding me of what you said. Obviously, it's not everyone, but a lot of these people, they are picking on the vulnerable. They're doing it because they can get away with it. And if we can stand with another woman and just be there with her and talk her through it, then that was the piece of advice that I always remember. And fortunately, I've never had to do that, but I would do it like a shot. I'm like, yeah, okay, I'll come and sit with you and have that conversation with you.
Yeah, to read some of those comments, because I'm sure our audience thinking, what were those comments? The first one that shows up on my one is, you're pretty ambitious for a woman.
Anything that says for a woman at the end is a freaking insult and a put down.
For me, I am fairly ambitious.
I think it's also to be mindful about how do we speak about ourselves. So, you know how many times I see blonde women going, oh, a dumb blonde moment? Like, how many things I see on social media that they write it or they'll say it, oh, I'm having a dumb blonde moment. Okay, all right, well, hello, I'm an intelligent blonde. You're an intelligent blonde. We need to stop talking about ourselves in that way as well. I was speaking to someone yesterday. She said, oh, I'm a feminist. And then she pulled a face like there was something wrong with that. We also need to be very mindful about how we're showing up ourselves, because I don't give permission for anyone to speak to me like that, because I don't speak to myself like that. But we're very conditioned to do it.
Are you going to pull that demure face?
Very mindful. This is how we show up. Very mindful, very demure. This is how we show up with our blonde hair.
That's right. Like queens do. Go on.
Sandy Balls. And what a great surname, right? I was an engineer once upon a time, and whilst picking up clothing from our stores, someone laughed and said, you're never going to get your tits into that top. I could write a book with some of the things that happened. Sandy, when I left school, I was a chef, and I was a 16-year-old girl who had just left a religious cult and very vulnerable. And I was working in a kitchen full of male chefs in the 90s who were kind of modeling themselves on Marco Pierre White, who was like, you know, renowned for the temper tantrums and throwing things at chefs. And I completely relate to that when you are in a kind of a male environment, you know, being the woman and being the butt of the jokes and thinking that that's okay to get away with. And like, how do you react in that situation? Because you can think about all the ways that you react. You know, when something happens to you and then you walk away and then you think about it and you're like, oh, I could have said this and I could have said that. But sometimes in the moment, it's so shocking. You haven't even got anything to say about it. I think that that's terrible. You said you should have said, well, maybe you should start making tops that women's tits can fit into then. I can just see you saying that as well, right? Oh, she said, love that. What other comments were standing out to you?
This industry is run by men because women are too emotional.
Oh, that reminds me of my corporate days.
Women leadership is the future. And because men have created so many problems in today's world with their leadership, that to me, it looks like a small dick syndrome, because they want to be there at the top and they would find anything that tries to crumble their position of power. And a lot of times that women coming into power positions, it starts to create fear or risk for them. So for me, I think women are not emotional. There's nothing wrong with being emotional, first of all, but our emotional intelligence is what is so powerful. In order for us to navigate this environment and to be a great leaders, when we are able to navigate our EQ, I think that changes the game in relationships and managing people and getting the most out of people, because we're not like the kind of leaders who it's only my way or highway and we have to do it that way, very masculine way of leading. No, I think we as women are able to really bring people together and create collaboration and make the most out of the team and the environment. And that's where the emotion plays a really, really good part, actually, that you can draw the best out of it.
Yeah, I completely agree. And, I talk about this all of the time. That's why I believe that women make incredible leaders. Not even necessarily women, like that feminine leadership that men can also adapt, that feminine leadership style. It's about being empathic. It's about really understanding someone else, listening to them, understanding their needs. Team building, leadership management is all about getting on with people. At the end of the day, if you really understand your team and you have people that are working for you that you appreciate, that you see them for who they are, that you recognize them instead of this patriarchal, like, do as I say or F off, then you have incredible people that will be with you, that will support you. And there's that Richard Branson quote, isn't there? Like, you look after your people, they look after your clients, and then your clients look after your business. So it's people first. And I was part of big projects within corporate that were trying to really push this in different corporate organizations around people first. They tried to do it, but at the end of the day, it always came down to the bottom line. And I know that, that's important in a business as well. We need to make money. But looking after your people is really, really important. And we're so good at that as women. But yeah, I mean, it's all poo-pooed. It's like soft skills.
It's like gaslight, trying to make us question ourselves as women. And it's quite sad because I have spoken to quite a few women who have been told certain things. And they were like, well, I've just gone and questioned myself and I retrieved. And there were quite a few comments and conversations on this thread as well about women being told that they're going to have to support their men to build a successful business, but they had to be housewives in a way. And in some cases, they were both building businesses, but the man would say, well, you're never going to make enough money to sustain us, so you better come and support my business. It's such a conditioning, again, from so many years ago that men will have to be breadwinners. And I must say, I have quite a few women in my circles that are breadwinners, including myself. It's amazing that we're flipping the table, so we're not listening to that, but there are women who are actually succumbing to that conditioning and that expectation and not going high enough because their wings were clipped at that stage and said, well, you're never really going to be a breadwinner. Then you have to look at that environment and realize that maybe you are in the wrong environment. Maybe your partner isn't being supportive of your dream. Maybe there is no room for you to grow above him. And it's not about who's above or who's below, but actually respecting each other and supporting each other no matter level of success. And my partner loves the fact that I'm successful. He has these moments when he is successful, and I love that about him. And we both have our times.
I agree with you that it's important for us as women, and really important for us as women entrepreneurs and business owners and founders and leaders, that we are very mindful around our environments, who we hang out with, who we allow to influence our minds. And that also means looking at the people that you live with. And I am also very fortunate that I have got a very supportive partner who has never, ever questioned in the 10 years that we've been together any decisions that I've made, always been supportive. But he himself has actually had derogatory comments directed at him because he is with someone who is not being at home and being a little housewife. And that's really interesting. And that's why we need the support of everyone in order to be able to create whatever we want to create in our lives. It's a really difficult situation. I've had many difficult conversations with clients who are in relationships where they're being disempowered. They're not being abused. They're not with abusive partners, but they're with partners that don't respect them and don't respect their leadership and don't align to their values, their ambitions. there's just a real disconnect. And I would never in a million years ever give anyone advice as to who they should or shouldn't be with. That's none of my business. But it's important for us to really look at that and just go, okay, am I surrounding myself? And this isn't just relationships, this is like communities. Am I surrounding myself with a community of people that empower me? Am I surrounding myself with people that share my values, that are like-minded, that support me, and that don't poo-poo my ideas or don't think that I've got ideas above my station, or you'll never amount to that, or just tone it down a little bit. You don't want to be disappointed. I hear that a lot from a lot of women, that, you know, their friends or their partner will go, well, you don't want to set too high expectations because you don't want to be disappointed. I mean, it's total dumbing down and disrespect. And we have a duty of care. If we are on a mission and we want to make an impact in this world and help to empower others, we need to empower ourselves by taking responsibility for our own environment. So I completely agree with you.
Yeah, 100%. It kind of brings me back to my like growing up in childhood, where my parents had a business and my dad would take control of the money as if it was his money, and he would give my mom a certain allowance for food or to do things, even though my mom played a pretty big part in the business and she was the mastermind behind it, right? So it is interesting that, again, that's just conditioning and men taking control and making us feel like we only play a small part, when really, if you're a man, try having a baby and tell me that the work that women do and the amount of responsibilities and the things that we carry as women, I dare a man to try this. I dare. Just for a day. There's another comment on this thread saying that your sole purpose on earth is to bear children. And it's quite hurtful to hear comments like that when it's so derogatory to women. And I think over the years, we as women have proved the point that we're capable of so much. Because I know so many single moms who run businesses, who run the household, have children, and raising the children, being so successful in a lot of things that they do. So ladies, I want to say, don't let any of these comments hold you back, slow you down, put you down, make you feel disempowered, and surround yourself with other women who's going to have your back and who's going to support you. I'm going to cheer you on. And we at Women Thrive, we stand for women empowerment. And we felt like this is an important conversation to be had and to help empower our women to stand much stronger.
It's a pity we've only got, half an hour, because I think this is a subject that we could talk about for a long time. You can go so deep with this, and there's so many different elements, and it runs so deep. It's generational trauma that we have as women, sister wounds, witch wounds, forgetting who we are, being very disempowered. So more conversations like this, please.
Absolutely. And I think some of our guests coming on show they have very strong opinions and have been through life experiences themselves. And I'm really looking forward to lining up our guest speakers in the next few episodes. You're going to hear from myself and Abby in the coming episodes. We're going to be co-hosting this podcast. If you are enjoying, make sure you leave a review, share it with someone, share it on social media, and reach out to us. We always really want to hear your opinions, your thoughts. What experiences have you had? What things have been said to you? We really want to hear you. We want you to be part of conversation. So make sure you continue this conversation on our social media, on our YouTube channel as well. If you're watching this or if you're listening to this, head over to YouTube channel and you'll find our podcast on video as well. Abigail, I love how passionate you got about this. I love you. You're just an epic woman.
I love you too. I love you too. Thank you. Thank you for sharing your thoughts and your opinions and your experiences. It's so powerful when we can open up conversations like this.
Let's do more of that. To our listeners today, thank you so much for tuning in, and you're in for absolute treat. This has been Raimonda and Abigail. Make sure you take a chance to get involved in some of our events, opportunities to be an author or contributor in our magazine. There are so many things that we offer at Women Thrive. So do make sure you head over to some of our websites at womenthrivesummit.com and participate. Thanks to you all so much, and we look forward to seeing you on another episode.
Thank you for tuning in to Women Thrive podcast. If you found today's episode empowering and inspiring, be sure to subscribe and follow us. Better yet, leave a review and share it with others. We're committed to bringing you more stories that will empower and inspire you on your own journey. Until next time, keep listening, keep learning, and keep pursuing your dreams.